7 million followers. In position. In position. I be thinking like they got the money, but they can't find something else. When you got that paper, everybody want to deal with you because you got money. Yeah, you know, and everybody going to tell you that they going to be there for you regardless if you had the money. You know, but everybody going to deal with you because you got the money, man. You know, when you got a certain craft, really though, I'm just being honest. You trying to find a companion is kind of hard because you really got to focus on your craft, and your companion is going to want attention. These dudes be looking for the broads in the strip club, you know, and they act like they can control them because they got the money. You can't control nobody. You know, when you look at it, right, it looked like he living the life right here. It's looked like, you know, he living the life. But obviously, he can't be that happy if, you know, he letting them, you know, get to him and he trying to control him. Yeah, he ain't that happy. Hell no. Money don't make you happy, man. It don't make you happy. You got to find the things that make you happy. And, you know, when they young, right, and they get a position and they start getting the money, you really don't know yourself in your 20s. And I'm going to be honest. You don't know yourself in your 20s, man. You think you do. You got that paper. Everybody dealing with you because you got the paper. And you got to figure yourself out in your 20s. Yeah. And I'm standing on that. In your 20s, nah, you don't know yourself. You think you know yourself, but you really don't. You try and figure out who you are. But at the same time, you got a whole bunch of people that's acting like they got love for you because they benefiting from you. Everybody around him is getting money off of him. Everybody he deal with need him for the bag. You got to just stick to your craft, man. You know, you might want love, right? You know, some people, they get the bag and they want love. You got to stick to your craft. You got to know how to understand you definitely ain't going to find love in the strip club. Yeah, you ain't going to find it. You might find a temporary, you know, partner. And everybody ain't going to be your lifelong partner. Yeah. Everybody not going to be your lifelong partner, man. You know, when you watching these people that get the light, it look like everything good with them, man. But a lot of them be having issues, insecurities that they going through. Yeah. It look like, you know, Tank living a life. But if he got to, you know, put the pressure on a stripper and you got millions, you can't be living a life. And we all out here, you know, getting up every day, trying to get money to live, right? They got money and they feeding other people every day. And they still got issues. You know, man, you got to get to know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you ain't going to never be satisfied, man. This is how I see it, man. If you don't know yourself, You ain't gonna never be satisfied. Straight up. And I think at this point, you know, you can get on a jet. You know, you can have things your way. But if you don't know what makes you happy and you just chasing different things, and then you got a lot of people around you that, you know, got their hand out, you'll be confused, man. But experience is the best teacher. You know, experience is the best teacher. And, you know, maybe this is like an experience for him, you know, that he got to learn from. Yeah. Maybe he will learn, maybe he won't. You know, like I say though, us as people, when we look at other people's situation in life, we'll say what we won't do because we haven't done that. We haven't experienced that. And, you know, all people, right, look at their life and, you know, you make exceptions for things you do. And when you look at other people, you say, if you haven't done that, why they're so wrong. You know, you'll say to yourself, this person's that and they ain't this. Well, we all got issues in our life. And trust and believe. Not everybody needs other people to make them complete. You know, but it's told to us like that. Like you gotta have a partner, you gotta have somebody around you. You know, sometimes it make things worse for people. Yeah. Sometimes it don't go your way. I feel like, man, if you got a craft, you gotta stick to your craft. It ain't about trying to please somebody else. You know, and some people get caught up in things in life, man. Experiences, man. You know, I'm sure he got a lot of frustration on his back because he got to take care of a lot of responsibilities. You know, hopefully he learn from his situation and be responsible and do something different. Yeah. You know, he got a pattern of the same behavior, and you know, he think his money gonna always get him out of the situation. You know, which a lot of people think that as long as they got money, it's gonna get them out of all the situations. They ain't gonna have nothing to worry about because they got the money. And that's why they do a lot of things they do. For real. Because they feel like, man, I'm gonna buy my way out of it. And a lot of them buy their way out of a lot of situations, and then it'd be a situation that they can't. You know, they go too far. The mind. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say he's definitely responsible for his actions. You know, he got to take responsibility for his actions and stuff like that. I'm saying that, but, you know, some people got to experience some things to understand the actions that they was doing. Everybody's life going to be different. You know, and some people think because they haven't done something that somebody else has done, that person is just the worst. Especially when they got money. And another thing, people think that the people that are financially stable, well off, that they perfect. Nobody's perfect, man. You know, everybody got to learn. You know, when you look at the people that are public figures and they got the money and they known to be rich, automatically the other people hold them to another standard and look at them as if they supposed to be perfect. They ain't supposed to do no wrong. So when they do something wrong, they automatically, hold them to the highest standard. But, dude is young too. He young. Yeah. So he might get himself together. He might figure it out. What I say, when anybody gets you upset, just ignore them. That's how I say it. If you disagree with somebody, don't speak to them. Yeah. And dude wake up every day, train and box. He gonna have an attitude. But he doesn't understand that. That's something that he got to figure out. That he's gonna always have an attitude because of the line of work he in. So maybe you don't need to be with somebody. You need to be by yourself and deal with people accordingly. Because every day you're going to have an attitude. You got to have an attitude to be a fighter. You got to get in the ring. You can't have a sweet personality in the ring. So you got to have somewhat of an attitude to be a fighter. And for him to get in the ring all the time and box, I'm sure he upset a lot of the time. Some people think that, you just like a robot, man. You supposed to be this and you supposed to be that, and you can switch this off and switch that on. Man, some of these people try to have that mentality or whatever field they in all the time so they can be the best at it. Yeah. Some people try to have the same mentality all the time so that they can be the best at it. And I'm going to say, from me coming from the streets, when I was out in the streets, I always tried to have that street mentality no matter what, so that I wouldn't get caught slipping. A nigga won't catch me off balance. Any situation I'm in, so I don't get robbed, even if I ain't doing nothing in the streets. I gotta have that mentality because I want to pay attention to be on point. Not just when I'm out there trying to make a street move. You know what I mean? See what I'm saying? When you out there trying to make a street move, you got that mentality. You like, man, I gotta be on point. This might be a setup with the police. This might be a robbery. So I need to be on point. So when I was in the street, I always tried to have that mentality, whether I was doing something in the street or not. I'm looking at everybody like they the police. I'm looking at everybody like they trying to rob me or take advantage of me. I'm looking at everybody like they might try to record me, get me to say something funny for later. The mentality is certain fields when you trying to be the greatest in it, you're going to have that consistent mentality for you to be the greatest. So you got to understand you though. And you can sit back and, say anything about anybody because you ain't experienced that. But yeah, it's a part of life, man. And like I say, when you young, you do not know yourself. You don't know yourself. I don't care what nobody say. And all the people we see that become famous and rich when they young, they do not know themselves at all. They just got money and fame. It's people older that never have money and fame that expect as soon as these people are young, when they got money and fame, they supposed to instantly know this and know that, but they don't. They might have an idea, but experience is the best teacher. And when you older, you done had a lot of experiences. And some people done had experiences that they don't want to say, but they be judging the younger people. Some people done had experiences. They don't want to say, they got an excuse for it. But they'll judge somebody younger. Yeah. You know, we all gonna have our moments when we feel like somebody should have done this better, but we still gotta remember it's life, and shit happens in life, man. That's a fact. You heard me? Man, I appreciate all of y'all, man, that be rocking with SBGB TV, man. If you haven't already smashed that like button, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man.